some people say, conjunction, what's your function? Nobody said it today so far, so I wonder, are we kind of past that grouping? You just forgot about it. Okay, you repressed it. Characteristics of a function, you may think of input and output. Alex said a relationship, things that work together. That's really good. I heard f of x. Thinking of a word that starts with a D and a word that starts with R. Domain and range. Let's see, what else? I'm thinking of a test. Vertical line test, yeah. So I'm going to tell you very basically what a function is. Very basic terms of what a function is, okay? So we're going to take Blake and Carson. They are playing in a hockey game, okay? And at the end of the day, I check the box score, and in that game, Carson has scored 2 goals and Blake has scored 1 goal. Is that a possibility? Why? Okay, so it's possible, it maybe isn't probable, but it's possible that you could score 2 and he could score 1. Is it possible I could look at the box scores, see that you scored 0 and see that he scored 0? Yeah, it's possible. Is it possible I could look at the box score and see that you scored 10 and he scored 10? You're playing against first graders. Okay, all right, so that's possible. Okay, not probable, but possible. Is it possible I could look at the box score and see that Blake scored 1 goal, Carson scored 2 goals, and then Blake scored 5 goals? Why? He just scores 1 number of goals, right? Like, they must have made a mistake. Emma must have been playing on the team and she scored 5. Like, it doesn't make sense that all of a sudden he scored 1 goal, but he also scored 5 goals. You see, the kind of stupid definition of a function is this. Every input has exactly 1 output. So you're the input, you're the person. The goals is the output. You can only have 1 number of goals. Can they have the same number of goals? Yeah. But each person cannot have different numbers of goals. So this is the definition you have to memorize perfectly for the test. A function is a relation in which every element of the domain corresponds to exactly 1 element in the range. I should say of, not in. Yeah, you're gonna practice right now. Watch. So I've got domain here. I've got numbers like 1, 2, and 4. And I've got range here. I've got numbers like 3, 6, -2, and 5. Okay? And we're saying that 1 corresponds with 6, meaning that the point 1, 6 is on the graph. And 2 corresponds with 3. And 4 corresponds with 5. And 1 corresponds with -2. Uh-oh, no longer a function because this input corresponds with more than 1 output. So the definition, a relation, a set of points, a relation in which every element of the domain corresponds to exactly 1 element of the range. That's what we're thinking of as we define it. You need a partner, a group of 2 or 3. Group of 2 or 3, and decide who's apple, orange, banana. Go. Okay, we just memorized the definition of a function. Now you have this notation, f of x is 3x minus 5. That's really the same thing as y is equal to 3x minus 5. It's just a line. The deal is if we use f of x notation, that tells us 2 things. Number 1, it's a function, so it has the properties of a function. And number 2, it is, in fact, has a name. This name is f. This is not f times x. Okay? Just like if I say square root of 9, it's like, what does that thing do? Like, why do we decide that when you see that, you say, what do I multiply by something to get something else? When you see f of x, whatever you're having for x, you just plug it in over there. That's why we do what we do. Okay? Some people might say, well, everything's a function. No, it's not. Anybody know what this graph looks like? It's a circle. Is a circle a function? No, it does not pass the vertical line test. So not everything is a function. So in this case, this one is. I'm going to evaluate f of negative 3. So what I do is I take negative 3 and I place it where x is. So 3 times negative 3 minus 5. That's what that notation is telling me to do. So therefore, f of negative 3 is equal to, well, 3 times negative 3 is negative 9, minus 5 is negative 14. What I would like you to do is quickly compute f of 0, f of 2, f of a, and f of a minus b. Okay, I got negative 5, I got 1, I got 3a minus 5, I got 3a minus 3b minus 5. Are we on the same page? Okay, then suppose that we have f of x is equal to x squared minus 2x. F of negative 3. What is negative 3 squared? Positive 9. And then minus 2 times negative 3 is going to be a plus 6. So I get 15. F of 0? 0. F of 2. 2 squared minus 4. 0. If I came up with 0 twice, does that mean it's not a function? That's like Carson scores 0 goals in a game and Blake scores 0 goals in a game. That's possible, correct? So it's a function, okay? You just can't have f of 0 is also equal to 1. Then it would not be a function, okay? So, but we don't have that, okay? F of a is a squared minus 2a. And f of b, or f of a minus b, I'm going to write this out. It's a minus b quantity squared minus 2 times a minus b. So what do I get when I square a minus b? Minus 2ab plus b squared minus 2a. Yeah, plus 2b, we got to distribute that negative. Good. I know that plugging in things like a minus b, you might think that's kind of pointless, like we're just trying to make things difficult. That's not the case at all. You're going to have to be able to do this as we move forward. What's different about C and D? Would you agree when you look at it, you're saying it looks super complicated, right? We're going to make it super easy. We're going to evaluate the function for those. I have 2 function rules. I have 2x minus 1, and I have negative 1/2 x squared minus 3/2 x. Do you think I plugged the negative 3 into the top one, the bottom one, or both? The top one. Why? Because negative 3 is less than 0. This tells me the domain restriction. It tells me what domain elements go into which spot. So yes, 2 times negative 3 is negative 6, minus 1 is negative 7. Where do we plug in 0? The bottom one, and you get 0. And we plug in 2, we get negative 1/2 times 2 squared minus 3/2 times 2. 2 squared is 4. Negative 1/2 times 4 is negative 2. Minus 3 is negative 5. So it looks super complicated right away. It's really not that bad. I want you to try f of negative 2, or I'm sorry, f of negative 3, f of 0, and f of 2 for this one on your own. Try this one on your own. Go. -3, plug in top, middle, or bottom. Top, you get 2 times the cube root of 8. Cube root of 8 is 2 times 2 is 4. 0, top, middle, or bottom? Middle. Yeah. The cubed root only produces one result because -2 times -2 times -2 is -8. So a cubed root produces one result. Good question. Plug in 0. There's nowhere to plug in the value. It just says that it's always 18. Plug in anything and you get 18. Anything between -1 and 2. Then plug in 2, we get 9 times 2 is 18 minus 2 is 16. We good? So we made something look confusing really simple. We have 3 of these, and then we will be done. So, plugging in letters and variables into functions does have its purpose. SB is studying for a test right now in which she has to be able to use this piece that sits right before you, okay? And so we're showing you this now so that next year you'll be more successful, okay? So let's see what we can do. It says find f of a plus h minus f of a all over h. It's a very useful formula in calculus. You see, we know how to find slope, but we need 2 points, right? Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. In calculus, we learn to take any graph, and you pick a point on it there, and we can tell you the exact slope at any point on any graph. And it's kind of a crazy thing because you just have 1 point. How do we make that work? That's what calculus is all about. So we're going to use that thing in that situation. I start off by determining what is f of a plus h. And I don't have to necessarily expand it out. I just want to plug it in. So if I take a plus h and put it in for x, I get a plus h quantity squared. I now know f of a plus h. The next thing I want to determine is f of a. What do I get if I plug in a? A squared. So now what we want to do is we want to take what f of a plus h was, which was a plus h squared. We want to subtract f of a, which is a squared, and we want to divide it by h. Watch what happens. What is a plus h quantity squared? Minus a squared all over h. What do you notice happens? The a squareds cancel. It turns out that every time you do this, whatever doesn't have an h has to cancel. If it doesn't, you did something wrong. If it doesn't have an h, it should cancel. And everything that is left should have an h. If everything that's left has an h, I can factor an h out, and I'm left with 2a plus h all over h. It will always work so that that bottom h divides off. And so you're left with just 2a plus h. This is so important that tomorrow we're going to devote a whole day to doing these types of problems. If you can't do this, you can't do calculus, which is okay. There's a lot of people in the world that can, but just make sure that you X off all the career options that you would possibly be looking for. We need to learn how to do this. We try the next one. G of a plus h. That would be 2 times the quantity a plus h minus 3. What is G of a? Two a minus 3. So what do I do now? I take this top one minus the bottom one and divide by h. So 2 times a plus h minus 3 minus, I'm going to put this in parentheses because I'm subtracting the whole thing. 2a minus 3 all divided by h. I get 2a plus 2h minus 3 minus 2a plus 3 all over h. What happens? 2a's cancel, 3's cancel. I'm left with 2h over h. What's 2h over h? 2. You set this last one up on your own. See if you can set it up and try to work it through. We'll go through it together in a second. Confidence from Jack. Let's see what we got. You should have 5 times a plus h minus a plus h quantity squared minus parentheses 5a minus a squared all over h. Do you have that as a setup? Is there questions how I got any part of that? I then have 5a plus 5h minus a squared minus 2ah minus h squared. So I square a plus h, and then I distribute the negative through. Minus 5a plus a squared all over h. Goodness, there's a lot of stuff there. What cancels? The 5a's, the a squareds, and everything else has an h divided off. You get 5 minus 2a minus h. That's the correct result. Who got it right? 100%. Good job. Shelby is ready.